All right. Good evening, everybody, and thanks for joining. This is going to be a little bit, uh, it's going to be kind of a different video than I'm used to doing. Usually I'm targeting somebody like Darth Dawkins or some other kind of like evangelical Christian who I think is, worthy of ridicule. But in this case, this one is something that I should have tackled at least a couple of weeks ago, and now it's getting to the point where in this internet cycle of time, it's like, commenting on the First World War. It's like almost 6, 7 weeks old. This particular situation that popped up involved a controversy that sort of happened. It kind of erupted in a few localized places, but where it did, it was, was poignant, made an impact. Um, the the point of this is that there was a message that was made from the gay community, right? This is from the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus, right? And they created the song and then performed it and then released it, and it triggered quite a few people, quite a few. And some of the people that it triggered are the types of people that you'd figured that it would trigger. I found out about it because a friend of mine sent me a video that was a reaction from a conservative Christian from Australia who was reacting to it, and his video is coming up next. In fact, his video is actually going to be the kind of focus of this. And then the second video actually comes from an atheist who is politically conservative, and it's his take, his reaction to this song and video. But the one thing that I think is interesting about both of the videos that came out, they attempt to kind of critique this video like line by line, as if it's a syllogism or something. They try to go after it like they're just going to like any other video that you do. You listen to a little bit of it, and you pause it, and then I got a comment about that. I got a hot take on that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to play the entire thing because the whole song, I think it's about 4 minutes. I'll probably play about 2.5, 3 minutes of it, but I'm going to play the whole thing so that anybody watching this can see the entire video that I'm going to be talking about, so you can hear the lyrics in context. And then I'm going to get into the reaction videos that I'm going to be reviewing. So if that makes sense. So I'm going to try that right now. This is the beginning of this video from the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus. I'm going to play this out so that everybody can hear it. I'll probably stop it once they get into like the chorus talk back kind of stuff at the end. I don't know how much there is, because some of that is just kind of revisiting themes and stuff like that. But I'll stop it at that point, and we'll move on to the reaction stuff. Most of the reaction videos are only focusing on maybe the first minute or two, maybe 2.5 minutes of this song. So here we go. And I won't be speeding this video up. I'll be playing this one at normal speed. I may be playing the reaction videos at a slightly augmented speed. So here we go.
Great pride on the progress we've made over these past years, there's still work to be done. So to those of you out there who are still working against equal rights, we have a message for you.
You think we're sinful? You fight against our rights. You say we all lead lives you can't respect. But you're just frightened. You think that we'll corrupt your kids if our agenda goes unchecked. Funny, just this once, you're correct. We'll convert your children. Happens bit by bit, quietly and subtly, and you will barely notice it. You can keep them from disco, warn about San Francisco, make him wear pleated pants, we don't care. We'll convert your children. We'll make them tolerant and fair.
At first I didn't get why you'd be so scared of us turning your children into accepting, caring people, but I see now why you'd have a problem with that.
Just like you worried, they'll change their group of friends. You won't approve of where they go at night to protests. But when and you'll be disgusted.
So gross.
When they start finding things online that you've kept far from their sight.
Like information.
Guess what? You'll still be alright. We'll convert your children, yes we will.
Reaching one and all, there's really no escaping it.
'Cause even grandma likes RuPaul.
And the world's getting kinder. Gen Z's gayer than Grindr.
Learn to love, learn to vogue, face your fate. We'll convert your children. Someone's gotta teach them not to hate. We're coming for them.
We're coming for your children.
We're coming for them. We're coming for your children. We're coming for them.
Your children will care about fairness and justice for others. Your children will work to convert all their sisters and brothers. Then soon we're almost certain your kids will start converting you. The gay agenda is coming home. The gay agenda is here. But you don't have to worry. Because there's nothing wrong with standing by our side. Get on board in a hurry. Because the world always needs a bit more pride. No, you don't have to worry. Because there's nothing wrong with standing by your side. Get on board in a hurry. Because the world always needs a bit more pride. Come on, try a little pride. We'll convert your children. Then we'll turn to you. Giving up the fear inside is freeing like you never knew.
Go and see San Francisco.
Go and turn up that disco.
You'll forget you were ever upset.
We'll convert your children and make an ally of you yet. We'll make an ally of you yet. We'll make an ally of you yet.
All right, so that's the song, right? So that's the one that popped out, and that was the one that I had never heard the entire song. I wasn't sure what was going on with it. When I first heard about it, it was presented to me in this way. Let me share that screen. Let's see. It's actually hard to figure out this one from the atheist one. All right, let's try this. Pretty sure this is it. All right, so this is Lion of Fire Ministries. I had a hot take on this. So now that anybody that's actually watched that song, or anybody that rewinds this back and watches it, you can hear the entire thing. The reason I wanted to play it in its entirety is because these particular reaction videos didn't do that. They just decided they were going to react to it out of context, start playing like snippets of it, and then start going at it, line by line. Like, well, in the case of the atheist one, he's actually going at it like a syllogism, which is funny because it's a song. But this guy, who looks a little bit like that guy from Almost Famous. Anyway, he's an Australian. He's a Christian from Brisbane or something like that. And he's got some strong feelings about how this works. So we'll play this and we'll see how this goes.
Disturbing video by the San Francisco Gay Men's Choir, which is all about coming after the children.
Not choir, it's a chorus. The San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus. It's different.
Converting the children of those people who don't agree with the gay agenda. Now, I just want to say that this obviously doesn't represent the entire gay community, and there'll be many people within that community who are embarrassed by this video also. Sadly, there are a large group of people who are looking to force this agenda and have done so over a number of decades now to get us to the point that where we are here today. And I'm going to give my reaction to this video.
You think we're sinful? You fight against our rights. You say we all lead lives you can't respect.
Well, first of all, it's not us that say that you're living a sinful life. The Bible clearly teaches this. This is God's word. He says,
I love how unironic the Bible clearly tells us that this is how it. No, it doesn't actually. The Bible's not all that clear about like why being gay is particularly bad. There's some things in Leviticus that talk about men laying with other men that are an abomination. Doesn't bring up women, and then even the stuff in the New Testament talks about effeminate men. Again, doesn't talk about women. So the notion that they were actually tackling homosexuality as like a desire or a sexual identity or that kind of stuff is just sort of trying to read in current issues into the past. That's my take.
That homosexuality is a sin, and there's no way that we can
no. So homosexual acts are, in certain cases, definitely a sin, specifically when it comes to men on men, right? Men laying with men as if they were women. That's as close as the language gets, at least in terms of being exact. That is not exactly what being homosexual is, and this is a problem that Christians have. Is gay what you're attracted to, or is gay what you're doing, or who you're doing? Christians are usually confused about this and flummoxed about how to approach this, and this is usually where things blow apart for them.
Respect a lifestyle decision, any sort of choice that is in contradiction to God's word.
But you're just frightened. You think that we'll corrupt your kids if our agenda goes unchecked. Funny, just this once, you're correct.
I find it very interesting that the word frightened comes in here. We often see this with homophobia or a fear of this, and it's basically saying that you're irrationally afraid of this because you're ignorant of this. And it's basically trying to demonize people that hold an opposing view, that don't agree with what they believe, and trying to delegitimize that.
The idea is to say that it's not so much you don't hold an opposing view. What you hold to is sort of an irrational fear of something, and that's why you're objecting to it, not because you have an opposing view. You don't have an established view of it. You just think it's icky or something in the Bible or whatever, and it's usually poorly formed and not well articulated, and that's the part that you wick out for any of these poor bastards who happen to actually be gay, right? So and the only reason I call them poor bastards is because they're poor bastards in the perspective that, like, if they're living in a Christian community or Christian country, yeah, God help them. No.
Belief system is something that's based out of fear and is not rational. No, people can just hold different views. But of course, especially Christian parents who believe that homosexuality is a sin according to the word of God are going to want to protect their children from a cult.
But what is homosexuality according to the will of God or the word of God? Is it the desire to have sex with people of the same sex, or is it doing that? Christians are usually pretty flaky on that.
Culture and from an agenda which tries to normalize this sin, and not only normalize it, but actually make it a righteous thing which we should celebrate.
Normalize the sin, but the act of or the attraction towards. Like, this guy's not being real clear. This is one of the things I like the most about this particular video, because I think what this guy ended up encapsulating is what is wrong with Christians' attempts to deal with homosexuality in any kind of theological way, relative to what's going on in the rest of the real world around them. They really can't cope with this. So let's watch this dazzling performer here. render a lyric that Captain Oz is going to take issue with.
We'll convert your children. Happens bit by bit. Quiet.
I'm going to say this because I'm only going to give this one chance. I like the psychotic turn of the head, the tilt of the head. Like, they know what they're doing, right? And if you don't understand that this is sarcastic or sardonic or whatever best describes this, I feel sorry for you. Try to enjoy the arts more.
Quietly and subtly, and you will barely notice it.
Oops. You just said the quiet bit out loud. That's the bit you're not actually supposed to say out loud. But it doesn't matter because we know what the agenda is. And it's been going on for a few decades now.
We'll convert your children. We'll make them tolerant and fair.
Okay, so do you mean tolerant and fair here as in the way that you're tolerant and fair? Or do you mean the actual definitions of tolerant and fair? Which means that we're able to hold opposing views, but we're able to agree to disagree. We can disagree without being disagreeable and be accepted.
All right, so let's talk about the differences between those stances of tolerant and fair. So one group, a group of Christian, kind of schlubs that, believe that they've got moral access to all this kind of stuff. And then there's the gays, right? And the gays are just like, you know what? We have a lifestyle and we want to live it. And like, okay, whatever. But we want to make sure that your lifestyle is never it's never recognized by law, and that you don't have any access to certain rights and same privileges that we do, and these kinds of things. Like this is just sort of nonsense coming from this guy. Like, this guy's like talking about this as if any of the progress that's happened within the gay rights movements over the last 20, 30 years, as if it's just like, oh, you didn't need to worry about that kind of crap. Like, yeah, okay, sure thing.
That people hold different views.
Just like you worried, they'll change their group of friends. You won't approve of where they go at night to protest. But when you'll be disgusted, so gross, when they start finding things online that you've kept far from their sight, like information.
Well, of course, we're not going to want to hang around with groups of people that are going to influence them in a negative way, to influence them to accept sin and to move away from the standard of the Word of God. When you talk,
you might be talking about reacting to information. Like, at this point, like this makes little sense what he's doing. I'll let him go on.
Talk about information. Are you talking about the information, like that information that conservatives have tried to put out there, which has been taken down and silenced by left-wing social media companies? Or are you talking about the type of propaganda, information that you want to push on people? And if anyone speaks against that, then they're intolerant, and that's not allowed.
Okay, so let's think about that. Like, what he's bridging a gap between here is like the conservative information networks, right? Conservative, I'm thinking he means political. So if he's talking about things like, well, gay people bring more STDs into the mix. Gay people are more promiscuous. And gay people can't hold on to the same partner over the same period. Gay people make inefficient or lackluster parents, or any of this other kind of stuff. That kind of information, because we actually have statistical information showing that that's not the case for any of those particular things. So if Chuckles from Almost Famous here, Australia version, is correct in saying, like, well, have you guys considered the information that's coming from any of these conservative sources? Yeah, that has been considered, and in large part, it's been considered hateful and mostly hate mongering.
We'll convert your children, yes we will.
Reaching one and all, there's really no escaping it.
Educating a child with a godly education and grounding them in the Word of God doesn't guarantee that they will grow into that man and woman of God, but we're going to do our absolute best to make sure that their worldview and their concept of truth and morality is grounded in the truth of God, not in the shifting culture of the day.
And the world's getting
Okay. If you live in New Zealand or Australia, like that guy does, or you live in the United States, the idea of a shifting culture is particularly myopic, right? If you showed up as a Christian in the United States or in Australia as a prisoner or pilgrim or whatever, you were part of the shifting culture of that day, and you remain part of the shifting culture of that day. These guys are acting like this is just some sort of like monolith. Like, no, it's just going to be this way and it always will be forever. Like, do you think the Aborigines held on to these particular ideals? I'm pretty sure you would probably object to some of their ideas. If the Kiwis, any of the conservative Christians in New Zealand can tell me that the Maori held on to some of these ideas exactly as stated in the Bible, Hebrew Bible or New Testament, that'd be interesting. But I'm pretty sure that if you were to compare the attitudes of like European Christians arriving on this continent in North America with all the Native American First Nation tribes that were here and their ideas, nope. So good try there, kid, but
kinder. Gen Z's gayer than Grinder.
Gen Z is gayer? How can a generation be any gayer than another generation if apparently it's all based on genetics, like you try to tell us?
Dipshit. Look, this is the best thing about this guy. Like, gayer than in this case means culturally, not actually. Take a breath. Try to figure out what's going on here. The fact that this guy, and I haven't addressed this yet, the fact that this guy is actually even addressing this video from the idea that these guys are saying the quiet part loud and they're actually out to convert your kids when they're singing a song that is this obviously sarcastic and sardonic. He's completely missed the point. It's just precious. The whole thing is precious.
Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's a bit more complicated than that. Maybe there are environmental factors which influence a person into embracing this lifestyle.
Learn to love, learn to vogue, face your fate. We'll convert your children. Someone's gotta teach them not to hate.
So someone's got to teach them not to hate in the same way that you're not hating, in the same way that you're not hating Christians, in the same way that you're not hating anyone who disagrees with you. I don't think you understand the definition of love and hate. Love is acting in the best interest of someone else, whether that makes them feel good or not. And hating someone is acting in the worst interest of someone else. And the absolute most hateful and hurtful.
So I'm wondering if he's willing to accept the fact that like there's a lot of people out there that think that the fact that he has succumbed to a certain Christian evangelical mode of thinking, he might actually be doing himself some harm. He's not living an optimal life because of the particular Christian philosophy that he's adopted and he's tried to transpose on his life. But he's completely willing to say like, hey, you know what? You guys are trying to say that yours is whatever. Like, come on, man. Come on.
The thing that we can do for a person is to reinforce a lifestyle choice that is going to lead them to the judgment of God.
A lifestyle choice that leads to the judgment of God. Okay, when a Christian says lifestyle choice, it makes me think that that's what that there's a person doing something, engaging in activities that constitute a lifestyle that would culminate in the judgment of an almighty being. But the thing that he's dodging is the attraction part. So if you have an individual who's been gay their entire life, and they've known it, right? Maybe even before puberty, they've just known it. But devoutly religious, and they've avoided sex their entire life, but they've only ever been sexually attracted to members of the same sex, does that person get to go to heaven simply because they abstained from sex? Does the desire for sex with a member of the same sex not create a deficit in them? This is something that I wonder if Christians really realize is a problem. Mike Winger has a real issue with this. I've watched videos from him, and when he tries to explain it, he just completely biffs this whole thing. So
We're coming for them. We're coming for your children. We're coming for them. We're coming for your children.
Again, targeting the most vulnerable, innocent people in a society.
they're not actually targeting kids, my man. That's the point of the song. The point of the song is to prey on the fears you perceive from your group. This guy bit the bait. This is weird and just sad to see this, but here he goes.
Through systematic indoctrination using the institutions of the media, of the educational institutions, the universities and colleges. Jesus says, woe to anyone who would lead one of these little ones astray, who would cause one to stumble. It would be better for a millstone to be hung around their neck and to be cast into the sea than to deceive one of these little ones.
Then soon we're almost certain your kids will start converting you. The gay agenda is coming home. The gay agenda is here.
Oops, that's the quiet part again being said out loud. The gay agenda. I thought there was no gay agenda. People just wanted to go about living their life in peace, enjoying their rights. But no, there is an agenda.
But you don't have to worry.
I don't understand how he does not get irony or sarcasm or exaggeration, hyperbole, any of these other kinds of things. That's clearly what's happening here. The fact that he's treating this as being hyper literal is super strange. I don't know what's going on in Australia, but they need to think about things.
Because there's nothing wrong with standing by our side. Get on board and hurry. Because the world always needs a bit more pride.
Actually, there is something wrong with standing by your side. The Bible says in Romans 1 that these people commit abominations, but not only do that, but teach others to delight in them also. And no, the world doesn't need more pride. Pride is the exact reason why man fell. Pride is eyes on self. What the world needs is more humility, brokenness, contrition, repentance, sorrow for sin. That is going to bring a man on his knees in a state of poverty of spirit where he's going to cry out for the mercy of God and fall upon the gracious gift that Christ has offered on the cross, eternal salvation for all who will believe, to receive eternal life and to be delivered from the coming wrath of God. So looking over this.
So you need to be, you need to beg for forgiveness from the coming wrath of the same guy that you're begging forgiveness from. This doesn't track all that well. And also, if the universe, if the nature of things around us, I don't know what this guy believes, but if all of reality around us is the inevitable result of God's plan, whose fault is all this? I always find it interesting that this guy has no problem issuing them we are all to blame for the things that we do. Yeah, cool, neat. I didn't design myself with genitals that were, as an ape, right, compared to other hominids. I've got genitals that are actually kind of too big, and they're frequently way too excitable. But that's my fault, right? And I've got thoughts that come unbidden to me about certain sexual acts that maybe I can't do. But this guy, if I ask this guy, what's the difference? Is it doing them acts or thinking them acts that makes me a sinner? This guy's going to start staggering. Like he's not going to be able to really be able to hold on to it, because you can just point out to the whole thing with Matthew. Like, I tell you, you look at a woman with lust in your heart and you've committed adultery. That part of the New Testament means that homosexuality as a thought is evil, not homosexuality as a deed, as an action, as a verb. And this guy's he's not representing the whole Christian attitude towards this. Actual Christianity believes, and I'm just going to point this out, and maybe some people will accept this or not. Actual Christians, if you are an individual that desires to have sex with a member of the same sex, that desire is a sin. If Christians are talking to atheists or secularists or people outside of their faith, and they get asked this question, they tiptoe around it. They're like, no, it's just like people having sex, like, because it's unnatural, or it's unhealthy, or there's statistical reasons why it leads to more disease. No, none of that's all of that is bullshit. Christians believe the desire to have sex with a member of the same sex is a sin. The majority of Christians, I think, believe that. It's about the thought, the desire, not the deed. And these guys tiptoe around it and act like they just, dilly-dally back and forth like it's no big deal. It is a big deal. Because the version that you're talking about is that your God is a thought crime prosecutor, and that these people can't really do anything about that. Maybe they're condemned by a devil. Maybe they're being seduced by Satan or whatever. Their thoughts are not their own. So maybe they should just surrender to the idea that they're schizophrenic. There's nothing good about that take.
It really is quite concerning and disturbing that these people with certain agendas are coming after the children of today. They're coming after the children to influence the next generation, because they know if
the point of this song is that they're not coming after the children of today. They don't have to. The cultural change that's happening is that the kids are automatically changing that way and upsetting your cultural defense or revolution or whatever it is that you're talking about. You're getting this wrong.
If they can get the minds of the children, then their agenda will go unchecked and will be unstoppable and cannot be opposed by the future generations. As I said at the start, this is not the agenda of all gay people. And although this is a sin, according to...
I would like to point out that this should be the agenda of all gay people, because of what this guy has just said.
To the Bible, and everyone must repent of all of their sins. There are people who are just blinded and deceived and are trying to find their identity and meaning and purpose in something, their expression. And they're looking to the LGBT community. They're deceived by the enemy, but they're searching, they're trying to find something, and we need to...
So is the LGBTQ community, quote unquote, the enemy? Kind of sounds like that's what he said. So what exactly, like, again, this guy has not actually committed to this. And I would ask him this. What is it about homosexuality that is especially sinful? Homosexual acts or homosexual desires?
Pray for these people and shine the light of Christ on these people so that they would come to a knowledge of him, as many people in the LGBT community have already done so. How can we combat this? Well, we need to be grounded in biblical truth, ourselves and our children, the next generation. If we can be grounded in biblical truth, we will be able to discern truth from error. But it's not just enough to be grounded in this. We have to be able to make a stand for this. We have to have the conviction and the fear of God over the fear of man, where we're prepared to stand no matter what the cost, so that this agenda does not go unchecked. And it starts with us, one person at a time. Are you prepared to count the cost for your faith?
So that guy, Stacks of Potatoes there, does not like the idea that, according to the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus, your kids are going to be more tolerant and more accepting of their particular lifestyle than he could ever be. He actually views it as, the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus is, saying the quiet part loud is that, oh, the gays are actually out to convert your kids into the gay lifestyle, and they're all ready to fit them with thongs and ball gags and send them out to, yeah. It's just it. Uh, um, the only thing that Christians aren't bad at is, self promotion at this point. That's about it. This is just horse shit and nonsense on a cataclysmic level. It was really interesting to listen to. I thought it was fascinating when, my friend showed it to me, and when I saw it, I was like, "Well, thank God that that guy is over in Australia." But then I realized, like, yeah, there's probably like 22% of the population of the United States agrees with this guy. So, yeah, I had to deal with that. Anyway, there's one other video that I'm going to get into, and it's a weird one, and it's kind of a tough one because I kind of I've liked some of the things that this guy's said before in the past, but in this one he is completely off the mark, and I'm going to play a little bit of what he does, because it's weird. Bring him in there. All right. This is from the Javier show. I heard about this guy from, Doug from Pine Creek, um, maybe a year ago or so. And he is an atheist, but he is politically conservative, and he has a reaction to that particular song as well. His take's slightly different, but I'm going to play it. We'll see where this goes.
Apparently we're going from gay to no way, and we're going to discuss this whole video and controversy about this whole San Francisco gay choir deciding that they're going to come for your kids. And look, I ain't got kids, but we finna talk about this, so stay tuned.
1 in a million to 1 billion. Too hot to be in the kitchen, I'll end up melting the ceiling.
All right, so I got this video pulled up, and we're gonna actually watch this together because I gotta give my reaction. I gotta give my feedback to this nonsense. And look, this has nothing to do with gay, straight, homosexuality, and none of that LGBT stuff. This is purely about this video. So we're gonna discuss exactly what the message is in this video and exactly what they're trying to do and what they're trying to achieve and how that plays into the larger narrative with this whole, political environment that we live in at the moment. But from what I've seen so far, and I did not watch the whole video, I've heard clips about it and I've seen people give their feedback on it. And from what I hear, it's really, really, really bad. And I think these people are even getting death threats at this moment about this whole video that they made. So I'm going to do what I do best. I'm going to give my honest opinion and honest feedback.
Sorry, guys. I think I lost connection there for a little bit. I just wanted to point out. Hang on, just 1 second. I think I'd paused Javier's comment at a point where he was talking about the gay agenda or something like that. I'm going to actually rewind that a little bit and play that back, since I think I lost a step. I think my internet connection actually dipped a little. Push that back just a few minutes.
Not watch the whole video. I've heard clips about it and I've seen people give their feedback on it. And from what I hear, it's really, really, really bad. And I think these people are even getting death threats at this moment about this whole video that they made. So I'm going to do what I do best. I'm going to give my honest opinion and honest feedback on whatever it is, this whole San Francisco gay coming for your kids conversion or whatever. And we're going to figure out, is there something to it or not? But before I get into the video.
Okay, yeah. So he had mentioned something about the death threat thing. I think that's where my connection kicked off. There actually were death threats initiated against the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus, and it elicited a major police response in order to, kind of figure that whole thing out. I'm not exactly, he brings this up. That's not good. Like, these guys presented a song that was kind of tongue-in-cheek and sarcastic, a little sardonic, and it generated a response that was, we're going to kill you because you coming at my kids kind of reaction. It was like, that was not the literal message of the song. Not at all. The idea of the song was, generationally things are changing and the younger generation is automatically making these switches, right? Like, they are converting your kids. They're making them more tolerant. They're not making them gay. They're making them tolerant. That was the conversion that they were talking about. The entire message seemed to get lost in some of these extremely violent groups. So anyway, this guy's going to try to go through this song line by line as if it's a syllogism, which is weird, and nitpick things. So let's try this.
Please like, subscribe, and share. That's all you got to do. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button below. You get notified of all my future videos when you hit that bell, please. And thank you so much for your, love and support for the Javier show. But let's get into it, Javier. Let's see what this video is on.
As we celebrate Pride and the progress we've made over these past years, there's still work to be done. So to those of you out there who are...
There's always more work to be done. Let's just be honest here. It's always more work to be done. Nothing about any of these organizations and groups who fight for equal justice or fight for equity or whatever the case may be. It's always more work to be done because perfection is never going to be reached. Now, should we always strive to be better? Of course we should. But do we actually believe that these organizations and groups who got, certain rights that they fought and, and marched up and down the streets to get, do you really think that it's just going to go away once you give them certain things? Of course they're not. They're going to find other issues and other reasons to exist. It's too much money. It's too much time, too much attention put into these organizations to keep them going. So there's always more work to be done. Always more work to be done. Again,
if you're a conservative and you believe in laying in the till, working the ground, there's always more work to be done, right? You got to plant, you got to sow, reap. You gotta take care of the land. You gotta make sure it produces for you and yourn. Like, I don't understand like what he's doing with this. Like, this idea, like, so a particular group like this is advocating for a social change, and they're always gonna like be fighting for it. Okay. Javier seems to object to this, which I find kind of weird because African American groups have adopted certain elements of this for fights for change. And he's just like, yeah. doesn't actually have to work that way. Like, yeah, sometimes it does. Sometimes it has to be persistent. There's a constant leaning on. So we'll see how this goes from here.
Guess what? We got work to do too.
We're still working against equal rights. We have a message for you.
Cocky much, right? Oh, we got a message for you. A message for you. For all of those people out there who are fighting against equal rights, because I'm pretty sure there are countless individuals in America who wake up every single morning to decide, I really need to put my big boy shorts on because I got to go out there and make sure people are not equal. Even though at this point, if you're one of those people who actually don't want everybody to be equal in America, or don't feel like every American has equal rights, and you want to keep that from happening, not only are you a very minute minority within this country, but you're also a douchebag. But for some reason, these people they really do feel like there are a large portion of the population who really wakes up every day saying, how can I hinder the progress of homosexuals? Even though it's all in the media, even though it's all in the movies, it's all on the news, it's everywhere you go. They got a whole month. They got a whole month, longer than Black History Month, might I add. They got a whole month. They can get married now, and they're protected under the Civil Rights Act. What else do you want? What else do you need?
So this seems kind of telling. There's a bunch there that's going wrong quite quickly, but I'm just going to keep playing it.
You think we're sinful? You fight against our rights.
So this is specifically aimed at the religious. Look, I'm not religious, but we start the song off with, you think we're sinful. So this is automatically applied to all of the people out there who are, because there's this built-in assumption that it's religion which is the problem, because there are a lot of religious people on the left who actually fought for LGBTQ rights and still do to this day. Last time I checked, Joe Biden is an advocate for the LGBTQ community, and he's a Catholic. I say that with air quotes.
So I'm trying to figure out exactly where it's going with this. The vast majority of people that are religious in the United States are not for gay rights. There are some. There is a small minority that are, and they were actually marrying gay couples before it was even legally allowed, and in some cases having those particular unions reversed in those states, because as a religious institution they didn't have the right to do that against the state's laws. But yeah, this guy's talking this.
Catholic, but there are so many people who are religious who fight for their rights, and who want equality for everyone, and it's directly aimed at the religious right. And I'll admit that yes, the religious right is a dominant force when it comes to conservatism. I'm not under any illusion to think that there's a big majority of atheists out there who are conservatives, but at the same time, this is not aimed at all conservatives. Apparently, this is aimed at those conservatives who are religious. Let's just be honest. I'm just reading between the lines.
Say we all lead lives you can't respect.
Just because somebody disagrees with something or feels like something is not something that they want to be a part of their life doesn't mean they don't respect you, or doesn't mean they don't have some kind of.
That is not the issue here. The issue that's going on here is that it's not something that they simply disagree with. They're actively trying to pass laws against these people, or prohibit laws that would recognize these people's ability to do things that other people are able to do completely legally, like get married. That's the issue, my man. So this idea, I'm like, oh, I don't know what you might be talking about. Like, yeah, try again, Javier.
They don't acknowledge your value as a human being. And for those people who don't acknowledge the value of
if you want to find a place where people are less likely to correctly evaluate the humanity of a homosexual, don't go to the Christian community, Javier. They will discount it.
Of you as a human being, I don't really know exactly what you're speaking about. Because I'll be honest, I debate Christians and Muslims and Jews and people of all different stripes all the time, and they never for the most part, they never really make an argument against me as a person. They argue against certain behaviors that I might have or certain beliefs that I hold, but it's never really attacking me as a person.
Javier, they're in some Christian circles, they're actually targeting you as being a reprobate. So you are actually not only not going to ever get saved, it's impossible for you to get saved in some Christian circles. So you might want to check which Christians you're talking to.
But carry on.
But you're just frightened. You think that we'll corrupt your kids if our agenda goes unchecked. Funny, just this once, you're correct.
Funny, just this once, you're correct. Funny, just this once, you're correct. So you just said that they think you're going to corrupt their kids. Corrupt. That's the word you use. And then you turn around and say, that's correct. So do you believe that being a homosexual is corrupt? Because you said that they think you're going to corrupt our kids. Then you turn right around and say, that's correct. We're going to do it. We're going to get them. Why would you make a video about people's kids? Why are kids being involved in any form of conversation when it comes to sexuality? Why? It doesn't have to be this way.
Satire.
There are certain people in this country who are...
Satire is totally lost on Javier. So I don't know what else to say at this point. Like, he's completely missed the ship here. This is satire. And Javier is just like, oh, why would you do that? Why would you have told people that what you actually did want to do was convince their kids? You wanted to do it all along. And they're like, yeah, sure, bro. This is terrible. I mean, this is not just a bad religious take, because that's not what he's going for. This is a horrible political take. Like, if you're going to survive politics, you might want to get this tone correct. And if you're not catching this tone in the gay community, the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus of, then you might want to reconfigure what it is you're doing. Just a thought from me.
Going a certain way. They're not the majority. And for those particular cases, we have to handle those things separately. But the fact that you're saying we're going to corrupt your kids, it sounds like what you're saying is we're going to take kids who wouldn't be gay and try to turn them gay. At least that's what I'm hearing. Now,
that is not what you're hearing. Well, that might be what you're hearing, Javier. If that's what you're hearing, it's because you are losing your mind. That's not the point of this song. The song is clearly a parody. But go on.
Also, when you start to talk about people's kids, you know you're asking for trouble. You know that, right? Most of the arguments that we have...
That's called being facetious. When you're being offensive for the purposes of being funny, which is what they're doing. This is facetious.
In this country is about the future, about our kids. I don't have kids, but about kids. What kids are learning in school with the CRT and all of this other stuff that people are learning in college and university and all of this stuff. This is not a smart idea. What are they even thinking? Too much time on their hands. Oh, let's get back to it.
We'll convert your children. Happens bit by bit, quietly.
Convert your children. So last time I checked, the argument was that being gay is something you're born as. How do you, if you're born gay and it's not something that you become, then how do you convert a child into homosexuality?
Exactly, Javier. That's not what they're talking about. They're playing into the role they've been dealt.
Now, it's just like somebody making a video about gay conversion therapy and saying, we're going to convert your child from being homosexual to being a heterosexual male or female. It makes no sense. Now, a lot of times these organizations and the people who represent them think that they're on the logical side. Just because you might feel that you shouldn't be discriminated against because of your sexual identity, I don't think you should be. But at the same time, that doesn't make you logical. That doesn't mean that all your arguments are sound. Now, if you want to ask me that should homosexuals or bisexuals or anybody on the LGBTQ flag or whatever case may be, if they should be treated as equal human beings.
Hang on, folks. Somebody just showed up that I would actually like to show pop in here. So. All right. So no direction. I believe I posted a link on Discord of this particular chat. I think I actually have a StreamYard link on there. if you want to come in, please come in. I would like to have your opinion on this stuff. I shared them. DMs. I DM'd them to you on Discord.
In society, of course they should be. But that's one argument. The rest of the stuff that follows from that doesn't mean that it's logical, doesn't mean that it makes sense. This is a bad argument.
It's not an argument. It's part of a song. And the course of the song has nothing to do with the part that you're actually trying to like play into. So Javier seems to be, losing out on this whole thing. Hello, Maya. Welcome for joining. Thank you. Welcome for joining. Thank you for joining and welcome.
And subtly, and you will barely notice it. You can keep him from disco. Warn about San Francisco.
Yes.
Make him wear pleated pants, we don't care. We'll convert your children. We'll make them tolerant and fair.
At first, I didn't get why you'd be so scared of us turning your children into accepting, caring people, but
This is the argument that my side is justified in all that we do and all that we are. And if you don't agree with us, then you're somehow the bigot. You're somehow wrong. You're somehow have life twisted. Yes, there is a good argument to be made that you should not mistreat somebody based on their sexual identity. Yes, there's a good argument that you should not allow your religion to cause you to mistreat somebody unfairly or whatever the case may be. But this whole idea that if your kids become like us, then they must be just, they must be fair.
No, Javier. No, that's not what they were arguing. That's not even close. That's cute, but that's not even close. So yeah, if anybody else wants to join in, actually I should probably include this join link here. Boop. Yeah, when I heard this initial response, I thought it was completely insane. Like, that's not what this was saying. This has nothing to do with that. And this guy's actually kind of reacting like, no, that's not how this works. Like, yeah, no, I would agree. That's not how this works.
All gay people? Because I'm pretty sure there are gay people out here who probably disagree with this whole video, who probably think this is a horrible idea from the start. They're like, why would you do this? Why would you do this? But we're going to turn your kids just and fair. That's what we're going to do. And you know how we know it's just and fair? Because we agree with it. You don't have to turn a kid gay or kid.
Why didn't you share this with me? I've been sitting here at work laughing my ass off at how seriously this guy is taking this.
Oh well, no. I mean,
he's like really diving into like, no. So the argument can be made here. I'm like, it's a fucking satirical song.
Yeah, he's really kind of lost his mind on the whole thing. So
yeah,
welcome Jay, welcome Simon's.
Hello.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it. I think that the people that can't get this kind of I don't know what I'm going to call it, but satirical humor, it just beggars belief. Either that, or they know what they're doing and they're just doing it for content, right? That's the other possibility. So
it could be.
Yeah, I would like, but we need to really get that guy with Jill, because that's Jill's conundrum right there. Because Jill thinks that all atheists are inherently liberal. This guy is a conservative atheist. Yeah, Jill's conundrum. That's my nickname now for Javier, and I just met him. That's Jill's conundrum.
I think Javier might become a Christian if he hangs around with like Jill and any of these guys for too long.
I don't think so. I think this is more. I mean, it seems to me that it's more like a cultural thing, right?
Could be.
That's what I'm hoping. I mean, you know, well known, isn't it? So that's just what I'm hoping. Oh my god! Oh, you bastard! Sorry, I'm playing a computer game at the same time. And
Are you playing Daisy? You getting shot in Daisy?
No, not exactly. I'm just suffering though. I am suffering with Daisy right now. But yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. I mean that's what I'm hoping. It's something more cultural than it is anything else. And
I'm going to continue to play this, and we'll see where this goes. Because Javier disappointed the shit out of me. I remember hearing about him from Pine Creek, and Pine Creek was like, "Yeah, there's this guy. He's like, he's an atheist. He's politically conservative. Got some hot takes on some stuff." And I watched some of his hot takes on a few things, and some of them were pretty good. Even politically, there were a lot of things that he talked about. I'm like, yep, he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. And I had kind of lost track with them. And then I saw this one, and I was like, oh my God, Javier. Oh, you sloppy bitch. You've just completely lost the plot.
I actually spoke to him the other day in a hangout, and I didn't get any of this from him. But then, of course, the subject wasn't contentious at all. But, just I'm quite shocked in a way, really. I am actually quite shocked because I'm like, really? But again, I think there might well be a cultural element which I'm not okay with.
I don't trust those takes from you, Simon.
I just like
okay.
I like the whole the thing with, well, I'm saying, like, kind of facetiously here, is the LGBTQ rights thing. I understand that we what LGBTQ have been asking for isn't specifically what people would say are just LGBTQ rights that only pertain to them. It's they want to have the same considerations under the law as heterosexual people.
Sure.
That's it. So I'm not really like sticking it. I'm not coming down on the term or the identification of it, but I wonder if when these guys are talking about it, if they're thinking, sometimes I wonder, because there are people that think this, that the LGBTQ community were asking for special rights for themselves. And that was, to me, it like, oh no, they want something more than what everybody else has. And that's what LGBT and people were kind of demonizing that group because of that. Oh, they want more than what anybody else has. Like, no, they want the same considerations under the law that you have. But okay, I've said my piece.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, that's exactly it. And it also comes down, as far as I can see, that they're kind of saying, look, I should concentrate when I start speaking. It's not that they want the rights; it's just they don't want the discrimination.
Yeah.
Right, and that's nothing to do with the law. It's just like we would like finally to be treated like human beings, because it's still not happening, despite the fact we've been granted all these rights. Right? Because there's all of these fundamentalist Christians which still think it's immoral. Right, and then that's the point. How can love be immoral? As far as I'm concerned, it's always been a question for me.
And what I think is interesting is that for the guy, like I'm blanking on his name, the video that Jeff was reviewing before, the guy from Australia. When he was talking, he went right to Christianity, and I'm like, that's funny that you jumped right to Christianity. There's lots of other religions that are, like, Islam is very opposed to homosexuality.
Oh yeah.
So I thought it interesting that he just took their song as being aimed right at Christians necessarily. I'm like, well, first of all, it's satire. It's aimed. The song is aimed at a generalization that's been going around in media and in sometimes Christian groups, not just necessarily Christian groups, talking about gay agenda we're coming after your kids. You know, we're gonna warp their little brains and make them think all these things are okay, and stuff like that.
Yeah. You can think that hate is unacceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then when you have that guy from the ministry's video, and he goes, like, thinking about exposing the most vulnerable of us
Yeah.
to this stuff, and I'm like, really? You want to read Numbers 31 about what that says, what the Hebrews did to the Midianites? Expose that to the most vulnerable of us.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
wait, Daddy, what happened to the kids? Oh, they killed them. What?
Yeah.
But they kept all the virgins. They kept all the virgins, son.
Yeah. Women, you don't do that to women.
Dad was a virgin. You'll find out when you get older.
Yeah, you use the flesh swords, not the steel ones.
Sorry, Jeff.
All right.
You gonna continue with the video?
It doesn't have to be gay to be just and fair. A kid doesn't have to think like you to be just and fair. Hell, you could disagree on a wide variety of different issues and still treat each other with respect.
Where is he getting that from?
Hell, I even agree that the fact that religious people can think something is a sin and still treat people fairly. I've heard religious people say all the time, hate the.
Nikolai, would you like to comment on this?
Not as of yet, other than the fact that this is basically the equivalent of someone just reading a clickbaity headline and thinking they now know the entirety of the news story.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
And it's like, they think that they're making some profound point by this, when it's like the chorus makes it clear what is meant by, we're going to recruit your kids. We're going to teach them things. It's abundantly clear, but they just go in completely blind and just go, oh my God, they're saying the quiet parts out loud. See, look, the P, there's a P being added to the LGBTQA, whatever it is now. And it's like, oh, they're all pedophiles now. It's like, no, we're obviously that these people are mocking, because this is a tradition that pride committees have done for decades, is taken homophobic slurs and talking points and made a mockery of them.
Yes. And I feel kind of bad for Javier for being, falling victim to this, because he's too, ingenuous to not understand what's going on.
Well, he can just wait for the chorus. Like, before you review a video, maybe watch it first so that you know what points are actually.
Yeah, that would be good.
Oh my God. Watch it first. Yeah, no, there's nothing like a live reaction. It's harder to do a live reaction, if anything, because
Well, if you're going to be doing like a critique of something, like if you want to critique this song and say like why this is a bad idea, maybe listen to the song first in its entirety, then go through and highlight the points that you object to and why. But like what I've seen from watching the stream very briefly is just Javier is just immediately goes off. Thinking that this is some QAnon crap, and then the chorus comes and it's like, okay, you just look like an idiot now, because it's abundantly clear what is meant. Like, I don't know, maybe he doesn't know how context tends to work in these kinds of songs, where the chorus is normally there to hammer down the intent and make clear what the song is about.
Could be. Yeah, it could be.
Of course he does. He's just being a little bit, what's the word, disingenuous with the critique here, I think.
Yeah.
So.
Well, guys,
I also just give props to YouTube for keeping these videos up. Because like if I have a stressful day at work or something and I want to have something to laugh at, I used to just type in gay agenda into YouTube and then sit there and laugh for a while.
This makes me feel bad, because you actually showed up, and I'm trying to like figure out like, hey, you want to have a comment on the last video that I did? So the stuff that I did before, when I was talking, commenting on New Zealand idiot and
Gavin's bastard son.
Yeah, Gavin's bastard son. Any take on that?
It's pretty well the same thing, except as Jay also pointed out, is that he immediately goes to Christian because he feels targeted by this message. Because let's be frank, in Australia and in North America and in Europe, the people who tend to make the most noise about pride and the gay community in general are the fundamentalist Christians.
Yes.
And anytime that they face criticism or pushback, suddenly it's a matter of persecution. It's not that they're actively trying to persecute gay people. It's no, now they're being persecuted for it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Also, he has that stupid idea that there are true definitions, and there's only one true definition for a word. So when the chorus comes around and they say, we're going to teach your kids to be tolerant and not hate, he goes, oh, well, the real definition of tolerance is, and basically does this weird portrayal of tolerance that isn't actually possible for anyone. Is basically a bastardization of the paradox of tolerance, where you have absolute tolerance for any and all positions and actions, and you just permit everything. It's like, no, that's not what it means for someone to be tolerant. You can draw lines at places, and it doesn't mean being tolerant doesn't mean you don't criticize things. It just means that you allow them. So it's like, I'm not going to strive to outlaw his religious views.
No, I'm inclined to believe you, but I'm also inclined to,
yeah. But he absolutely is fond of the idea of outlawing basically just my relationship with my boyfriend. That's offensive to him.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
it's like it doesn't lead to. It's like, I know plenty of Christians who, they don't like my relationship. They think I'm living in sin. But it's my life and it's my will to sin, and my sin is between me and God. God gave me free will to do as I see fit. So they go, it's not my place to outlaw it. They'll still chastise me for it, and they're still pieces of shit in my opinion, but at the very least, they won't take that additional step.
Yeah, they're gonna need to figure out how to reconcile that with your damnation or your repentance or whatever. Whatever.
And again, the irony is that he then defines tolerance, and then says, "But from a Christian point of view, I'm going to be intolerant."
Exactly.
I mean, you just couldn't get more self-aware.
Well, he could just be one of those people who says that tolerance is overrated and that it's just a buzzword and people shouldn't actually be tolerant, or people who advocate for tolerance are actually just virtue signaling or some crap.
Exactly.
That basically just everything is black and white. You have to either allow everything or you're intolerant.
But then why is he criticizing somebody, saying or misunderstanding someone's definition of tolerance? Is he criticizing that? I don't get if he's...
Well, he's fine with intolerance. That's the thing, is that he probably has this view that there are things that you should not tolerate, like ideas that you shouldn't tolerate, which I'm sure that most people agree that, no idea is above reproach in my view. There are actions that we absolutely shouldn't allow. And it's very G-man. It's G-man logic, basically. Where it's like, you're not tolerant because you're not a fan of murder. Okay.
Right.
Oh, that's terrible.
But that's kind of where it goes. And it's really common the further you go on either end of the spectrum, where people will say that everyone's intolerant and intolerance is justified. Nobody is actually tolerant, and anyone who says that they are just lying to themselves and others.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that, okay.
But at this point, it's just the three of us talking here. This particular point. So anyway, I'm going to leave the studio. I'm going to cancel out of this one. Continue on.
I just find it very ironic that someone's going to turn around and say, you know, they're talking about intolerance as if they know what it means, and then turn around and say, well, according to the Christian worldview, these people are wrong, you know.
Well, the funny thing about that is that, because the chorus line goes, we'll teach your kids to be tolerant and not to hate. And it's like, it sounds like he's arguing for hate, not that whole love your enemy thing.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Which, of course, if you ask any Christian homophobe, well, if you accuse any Christian homophobe of being hateful or paranoid or what have you, they go, no, I'm not hateful. I love the sinner. I hate the sin. It's like, no, you were now arguing for hate. That these people are to be hated because they made a song poking at your fear-mongering.
Yep. I don't know. It's kind of strange, isn't it, to me that you know, that that it doesn't even go through the head that somebody is going to say something which is just contradicts exactly what they're criticizing.
Well, I think the problem is in their case, it does go straight through their head and it doesn't sit and marinate for a bit for them to mull over.